Hello, this is my culture family artifact presentation, and I brought two items to present. First is a picture of my grandfather, and secondly is a plaque, a vinyl record that was given to my mother in 1979 by my uncle Selwyn, her brother. I'll speak firstly on the plaque that was given to my mom. So this is from 1979. This is the record of the song "Good Times" by Chick. Um, and this here is a picture of my mother. She was 18 at the time. She was born in 1961, and this picture was actually taken outside of her home. And I lived there till I was about 4 years old. It was on Mark Street in Detroit, Michigan. Um, and I'll read what the plaque says. So it reads, "I was handed something on a silver platter, and it just happened to be you. You gave me, as well as others, a new meaning to good times. I would just like to return this good time to its true owner and say thank you. Love, your brother, Selwyn." Um, this this holds a lot of meaning to our family, even though it doesn't necessarily affect me in a way, just because this is between my mom and my brother, her brother, excuse me, and I know how close they are. They're only 1 year apart. My uncle was born in 1960, January 5th, and my mom was born May 19th, 1961. And they've remained close their entire lives, and they were close as children and close, still close now. They only live about 20 minutes away, and I'm very close with my uncle's kids, my cousins. They're around my age as well. They're only like a couple year. One is 1 year older than me, and the other cousin is about 2 years younger than me. Um, and we all have a very close bond and relationship. And my mom has kept this thing. She keeps it hanging up in her room. Even in our previous homes that we lived in, our first home that we lived in, which was where this photo was taken at, as I mentioned in Mark Street, that was where uh, I grew up at till I was about 4 years old, and then we moved to Warren, Michigan, and now we live in Clinton Township. Um, Next is a photo of my grandfather. Now, my grandfather was a very strong figure in our family. I never had the chance to meet him though. He passed away in 1984. So quite a bit before I was born. I wasn't even a thought at the time. But he owned a corner store in Detroit, Michigan for many years before he passed away. And it was my mom and her siblings' first ever job. They worked the cash register. They cleaned the store up and basically helped manage the store. Obviously, my grandfather managed the place, but he taught them significant values, and they still, my aunts and my uncles and my mother, they all kind of preach the same lesson and values that my grandfather taught them. And they speak highly of him. And even though I never got the chance to meet him, I know what type of presence that he had and the type of figure he was to them. And and I guess in a way it's inspiring to me just because I my father passed away when I was 4, and I never really got a chance to know him. And but hearing the stories of my grandfather, it's a lot. It's very inspiring just because you could tell he really loved his children and wanted the best for them, and he always tried to give them the best lessons that he possibly could. And both of these two artifacts mean a lot to me just because even though weren't necessarily a part of my life, they impacted my family in a significant way, just because my grandfather was so loved and revered in our family, and the togetherness of my mom and her brother, my uncle Selwyn, is special and something that I hope to carry on with my family. And the two values that the two ideas that I brought from the textbook were ancestry and history, because it makes me want to connect more to my family. The book puts such an emphasis on uh, our lineage and the history of our families and our communities, of getting to know yourself, not just yourself, but the people that came before you, so you can become, a better version of yourself and have a better understanding of yourself. And that's something that I hope to have, and that's why I'm happy that I'm taking this class, so I can have a better understanding of who I am as a person and my culture, my ancestors. I don't have much of a connection to, or knowledge much knowledge of my family history. I think the farthest I can really tell you about is probably my grandfather, and then I hear stories about my great grandfather from Mississippi, and I know a lot of my family originates from the South, in the southern states like Mississippi and Memphis and um, Georgia, I believe, as well. So uh, I still want to learn more about my family and where I come from and my heritage and the history of, African American history. Uh, it's still so much for me to learn, and I'm really excited to be a part of this class. And thank you, Professor, for letting me do this presentation, despite how late I am turning it in. But thank you.